everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I get a lot of requests to do these types of recommendations, so I figured this is probably the best first straight recommendation video. I'm going to recommend mysteries and thrillers. The mystery section in the bookstore is classified a little differently. I find if I go into the bookstore, and even when I was working there when we had to shelf them, the mystery section was always it followed one detective through a bunch of his cases, and those were kind of straight there, and then there were horror in the horror section. But I find that there's a cross section in fiction, which are thrilling stories that still contain a mystery that you're trying to figure out who did it. So I'm just doing whodunit books, basically. Basically, that's all this is. Various whodunit books. I have 8. And I've also picked books that are just thrilling, they're exciting, and they have twists. So some of them are psychological thrillers, but for the most part, and you'll just hopefully find one you like. All right, let's get started. So the first book I'm gonna pick for this, I did in my 2020 best of, because it was one of the best books I read in 2020. It's No Exit by Taylor Adams. This book is incredible. I think this is in the mystery section of bookstores, but what it is a closed room mystery. So a girl is driving in a snowstorm. She has to take the off ramp, and she goes into a rest stop, and she is stuck there, she thinks, for the night. There's 5 other people in the rest stop, and one of the cars outside has a girl trapped in a cage. So she has to try to figure out what one of these people are guilty, and how is she going to escape, and how is she going to rescue this girl. This is so good. It's not that big. I read it in a day, a couple hours. So if you have time to sit down, please get this book. It is so good, so worth it. This next book I'm going to classify as a thriller, because you're not quite sure what's going on at first. It's Baby Teeth by Zoje Stage. The back review says Gone Girl meets The Omen. I disagree. I think it's the bad seed. But basically what this is it is a couple, and they have a daughter, and she's quite young. And the mother is convinced that she is trying to kill her. So the mother is convinced the daughter is trying to kill her, and she's trying to convince her husband, and her husband thinks she's crazy. And she might be. So there's a mystery about, is she insane? Is this little girl insane? This is told from multiple perspectives. So it's short, again, it's a fast little thriller. I do love the cover. I think you'll really like it, but it has mixed reviews, I'll say that. Fuck these Gen Zers saying side parts aren't in. So this is a classic, and I think if you haven't read it, you need to, because the one that started it all, well, not really, but, and then the Renown by Agatha Christie. I read this in one sitting as well. This was one of the first classics I ever read. There's been so many adaptations of it, obviously. This one, though, it says the world's best-selling mystery, and I believe it. 10 people are brought to a remote island with a house, and they don't know why they're brought there. It's kind of like Clue, now that I'm thinking about it. But they get picked off one by one. And wow, you think you have it, and then it does that thing where the last line of the book just nails it home. It is so good, so good. Just read it if you haven't, because there's a reason it's the best-selling ever. I also mentioned this in my best of 2020, so I'm going to mention it again because I think everybody should read it. It's Pretty Girls by Karin. Mind you, if you are not into dark content or sexual violence as like you have a hard time reading it, even when it's fictionalized. Not for you, but wow, what a book! This book is so good. It's so well done. Um, Two sisters. So there's a sister story too, and their sister disappeared years ago, and they never found out. And then present day, one of the sisters' husbands dies. She's going through stuff. She finds snuff films on his camera. So then she has to figure out, are these connected? Is he guilty of this? Is this something bigger? It's so good. Just everybody loves it pretty much. I haven't read a bad review about it. The next book I have, I also mentioned in my best of 2020, so I'm not going to say too much about it. The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. Read it, love it, amazing. Short, not that big. Guy meets a woman in an airport. They start drinking, start confessing things. And he mentions casually that he would like to kill his wife one day. And she says, what if I can help you with that? And that kicks off the book. I think that happens in like the first 20 pages. Tons of twists and turns. Tons of like psychological, you don't know what's going on. You're very confused the whole time. And then it takes a total different turn. It's so good. Just read it. Again, I haven't heard a bad review about it, but I'd be curious to see if anyone actually likes or dislikes this. This next book is actually the next three I have are all-time favorite books of mine. I have a thing for revenge stories. And some of my favorite movies are revenge stories, which in turn makes obviously my favorite books revenge stories. This is a translated piece of work. I think they're still available in bookstores. If you can get your hands on it, do it. It's Confessions by Kanae Minato. Wow, this book is so amazing. You really don't know the direction it's going to go in, and wow. So what this book is a teacher experiences this tragic event, and she's going to resign from her post as like her tenure. And basically, before she leaves, she is going to tell her students that basically she feels they are responsible for what happens and someone is going to pay for it before she leaves. Before she leaves her tenure, she is going to get her revenge. Wow, it's dark. It's really good. Oh my god, I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to give anything away, but this is one of my favorite books ever. I love this book so much. And no one talks about it. I mean, most translated books kind of go under the radar, but not scary. But this is so fucking good, and everybody needs to read it. So, the last two books I have are by the same author. So, he actually only has two books, and I hope there's another one coming because he needs to. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid. This is the best, I think, psychological thriller I've ever read. This book is so fucking amazing. Short too. Don't watch the Netflix movie. Don't. You did not need an interpretive dance art house fucking movie, because this psychological thriller could have stood up on its own. Basically, it's a couple, and she is going with her boyfriend to meet his family for the first time. And on this road trip, she's thinking of ending things. And then as she kind of spends more time with him and as they kind of complete this journey to his family's house, weird stuff starts happening. And oh my god, I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want to ruin anything. This is, again, the best psychological thriller ever, and this is one of my all-time favorite books. I've read it twice now, and I will read it again because it's still like, it was one of those books. I'm reading it and I'm getting creeped out, like genuinely thinking someone's like coming in the room creeped out. It's so, oh my god, like, read it, it's amazing. His second book is also, I think, amazing, but it doesn't get as good of reviews as the first one does. um, Foe, also by Iain Reid, obviously. Different type of psychological thriller. Morality tale, maybe? Yeah. Um, wow. It's basically a couple lives on a very secluded farmhouse, and one day a stranger shows up at the door and says, "Hey, you've been selected to come to this space program randomly. And don't worry, because we've already got something in place to take care of your wife so that she does not feel alone while you're off on this journey." I can't say anything else about it. Just read it. Again, like, it does have more mixed reviews than I'm thinking of ending things, but this is, to me, equally as strong. I read it in one sitting, and I do want to reread this again this year because I think it does deserve another look. Wow, just, I can't say anything else. It's so good. It's so amazing. So read it, love it, and or read it and don't love it, but I guarantee you will still think about it. So again, we'll leave that at that. And that's it so far. I do have far more, but I don't want to like overload the video, especially because I'm kind of in the midst of reading some thrillers and psychological stuff right now. So I'm assuming, like, I'm already loving one, and I loved one I finished. So they'll come up again. Like I said, I have tons of books. So I'll definitely be doing a future mystery one. And I also want to do a horror one, and some of the horrors I have are very psychological as well. So with that, I'm going to finish this off. Don't have an exit. Bye.